What's up, everybody? William Kirk here with Reverb at Narwhal Studios, and today we got an awesome keyboard that's sure to have you astonished. It is a 61 key Astro Lab by Arturia. So what makes this keyboard so special? Well, let me just say that out the gate, most of the times when you're playing a keyboard, you might need a laptop, you might need your phone just to run the sounds if you're using Analog Lab. But guess what? This keyboard has the sounds built inside of it. It is a one-stop shop machine, which we'll get to later on how to modify and add sounds and subtract sounds. But this thing, you can take this on the road, you can take this on the stage and play it just like any other keyboard. So the first thing you notice about this keyboard is the fact that there is a very large dial in the center of the keyboard, which actually is used to navigate through all the functions. And you can select all the sounds, go through all the banks. And of course, the other buttons are very functional as well, and it's very easy to get around. But this dial here is the command center of all things related to this keyboard. So for all the keyboard players that are out and about and doing gigs and doing shows, the one thing that's very important is to be able to get to the sounds you need immediately. And the great thing about this keyboard is that it is laid out in such a way that the banks are very easy to find. They're labeled very well, and you can definitely modify and make playlists, and that's something that's a deep feature. But for the time being, we're just gonna focus on the fact that you can get to sounds very quickly. For instance, you want a pad, there's a pad button, and you can go straight to the pad bank. And then you can scroll through the pad sounds, and boom, you can find the pads you need right away. Or we jump to piano, because who doesn't like a good piano? Electric piano. So if you notice using this keyboard, you'll see exactly what sound you're using this center dial, which appears on this little screen here. But check this out. You want to go back to the home menu, you hit back, and then you hit back again, and it takes you home. And then you can go to all of these other areas, which include settings, of course, playlists, sound banks, liked presets, very important, and artists. Now, what is artists? I wonder what this is. So let's select this. Now here's the crazy part about this keyboard. This keyboard has banks that are in the spirit of certain artists. David Bowie, Depeche Tribute, and so many more. All right, so we're gonna select the Herbie Tribute. So I'm curious to know what it is. And the first sound is Chameleon Clav. Now, if you know, you know. That's all I can do for that one. Journey Tribute. and that's Journey. If you need some inspiration on, how to get the sound of these artists, or you're doing a gig and these songs actually come up, guess what? There's a whole database here, and let's just go through some more. There's MJ tribute. Criminal Bass. Beat It Groove. Now, this might be a sequence, so I've never heard this before. This is fresh out the box. So I'm gonna push something and something's gonna happen. Oh, shut up. Shut up. I did it and it did that, right? You saw it. I didn't, I'm not trying to get in trouble, but I'm just saying the keyboard did it. Criminal Hits. Oh, that's sick. All right. Beat It Gong. Oh! Woo! That was a real reaction. I'm just saying, I'm not even trying to be coy about it at this point. We're supposed to be like a certain way, but I mean, wow. All right, I'm gonna get out the MJ tribute bank because I might be here all day. Prince tribute. Moving from the center knob, we have these 4 knobs, which are brightness, timbre, time, and movement. And if you hit shift, you have volume, bass, mid, and treble. And I will say, when you go through different sounds in this keyboard, especially the synthesizer sounds, you can control different parameters related to each of those sounds. So you want more cutoff, you want more resonance, you can use these knobs to control those qualities. But then if you go to another sound like a clavinet or a keyboard sound, you can control those parameters unique to those instruments as well. And if you want more control, you can use the Analog Lab software to actually modify these presets and these knobs to get more control over the sounds that you want. So I jumped to a lead sound, which using these knobs, I can adjust the quality of this sound, the brightness there, the timbre, the time, so I'm just going to use an organ sound just to show you the difference of what the knobs do. Got the vibrato here on the movement knob, time, and that's more or less how the knobs function from sound to sound. Now, of course, if you get really deep into the sound base and tweak some stuff, you can definitely do that using the keyboard. But like I mentioned before, you can also use the Analog Lab software to make some changes. So we move along to the far right of the keyboard, and this is the effects panel. And of course, it wouldn't be an effects panel without reverb. Clearly, those who know. Reverb. So if we want to change a sound within the reverb setting, guess what? It's easy to do. You just hold the button and then you change it using this large knob that we talked about earlier. Oh, and guess what? Lots of reverbs to choose from, so you have quite the variety. So let's go to a digital reverb. And that's reverb in a nutshell. You get the idea. Right next to it, of course, is the delay. So you can do the same thing with delay. Let's turn on delay. Let's select one first. Let's go to analog delay. You only have 3 delays here, but how many delays do you really need in life, really? Let's turn it on. And there you go, delay all day. All right, so we talked about reverb and delay, but right next to these knobs are FXB and FXA, which are what I would quantify as the wild card effects, because these can be whatever you want them to be. And for most of the presets, they are assigned to some sort of sound that is comparable to that sound, but you can modify it to be whatever you want it to be. So for instance, FXB is set to analog phaser right now, but we can turn it to rotary speaker. And so guess what? Let's turn up FXA, and we can select from distortion, compressor, multi-filter, flanger, phaser, analog phaser, wah, twin amp. So, you got some options here. You can actually stack these and really go crazy. And let's go to chorus. Let's see what chorus sounds like with our previously selected effects sound. So basically, you have 4 fully functional effects that you can use all at once. And the reverb and the delay are like your front seat drivers, and then you got some cool backseat drivers with the effects A and effects B. So you can really go crazy and flip the stage a bit with these. So one of the situations that's very common for keyboard players is to play a split zone of one sound in the left hand and another in the right. Normally that's bass in the left and keys or synth in the right. So I've already got it loaded up, this Emu bass in Rose EP, which is a split sound. So just to give you an example of what that sounds like. So just like the split feature where you can take two different sounds and split the zoning of the keyboard, you can do the same thing with layering sounds. And that's why in these zones, part 1 and part 2 represent the primary part, which is the first bank that you select from. So in this case, I'm using an American Grand as the base root of this layer. And then I took a synth sound and made that part 2. So there's one more feature we're going to touch on, which is the looper feature. As you can see, you got the record button and the playback button. Metronome, that's important. So let's select that on. The loop length, 4 bars. That's great. So let's just hit the record button and see what happens. Boom. So as you notice, I changed the sound, but the notes are still intact. So I'm changing the MIDI, not the audio. Like most loopers, you only get stuck with that same thing that you actually played because it's recording audio. Not here. I just switched to the funky duck, just like that. And now let's go on to the vibraphone. Crossroads. So we talked about all the basic functions of this keyboard, and clearly very easy to get around, but there's one function I really want to touch on before we make our departure. It is the chord button. So right here next to the arpeggiator button, which is that, we have the chord button. So with the chord button on, it sounds like this. And let's see what happens when we push the arpeggiator and the chord button together. So with the chord button, guess what? You can hold it down, long press, and change what you want the chord to do. So you can change all of these qualities within the chord that you're playing. So let's go to type. Fifth. Let's change it. Octave. Pretty self-explanatory. Suspended. Minor 9. Minor 11. Something for everybody. So at the end of this instrument panel here, there's a playlist button that allows you to sequence all of your preset sounds or your custom sounds into each of these banks so you can get to them much quicker. We won't do that right now, but to give you an idea of how you can actually like some sounds very quickly, check this out. You can long press the center button, there's a like, and just like being on Instagram, you just hit the like button and boom, you have liked it. So you can also do this using the Astro Lab app, which is pretty cool because if you still feel like you need to consume your life with all the technology in your soul, then you can have the app here in this nice space right here for the keyboard. Boom. And then it connects because guess what? This keyboard is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth equipped. So guess what? You own the universe now. Well, obviously we've covered so much of this board and the rest is up to you. I've only taken you so far. You must now journey on your own. With that being said, I'm William Kirk with Reverb. We've been here at Narwhal Studios and we'd like to thank them for having us, always for bringing you these cool instruments and these cool little experiments within the instruments. And with that being said, the Astro Lab is definitely an awesome keyboard to use on gigs and in studio. So if you don't want to just be stuck in the studio and having to use your software and your app, guess what? You could take this out on the road, on a gig, and bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a nice instrument to play on the gig, eh? Awesome. So peace and love, and I'll see you next time.